This is Sportsline.
Hey there, Sportsline on your television. Steve Layman here with you. Glad you are here with us on this Monday night on News Channel 5. Plus, we are in the throes of March Madness at this point. It certainly got underway last week, and we will get to all of that. But we have decided some conference champions already. We are less than a week away from the men's selection show. That comes your way on Sunday night. Of course, the women's selection show 1 week from tonight to unveil the field of 64 on the women's side. But some huge moments over the past week to talk about on the hardwood. We want to welcome you into the discussion tonight. 737-7767, the number. Call us up with your thoughts of what you saw on the hardwood over the last several days, because there have been some monumental things. And let's start in Conference USA, where Middle Tennessee absolutely looked like a ranked team on Thursday night when they took down Western Kentucky in systematic fashion. I mean, that was just a beatdown of epic proportions, especially in the second half of that game. Nick King, Brandon Walters inside. Giddy Potts got it going on the outside along with Antoine Johnson. Look out, because this Middle Tennessee team has confidence. They have experience. And we know they've won in the NCAA tournament before, so I guarantee you there is no higher-seeded team that is going to look and see Middle Tennessee in their bracket and think anything other than uh-oh. Because this team is a really, really good basketball team. Kermit Davis has it going again. They did lose to Marshall over the weekend, but not something to be overly concerned about. I think there's a huge letdown from beating your rival, clinching an outright conference title on Thursday night, and I think it's a tough matchup against Marshall as well in the Conference USA season. Now you go to the Conference USA tournament down in Frisco, and that is maybe the one concern if you're a Middle Tennessee fan, is the fact that you very likely will face Marshall for a third time in the conference tournament semifinals coming up on Friday. It'll be a short turnaround for both teams from Wednesday night games or Thursday night games down there. Got to come back and play on Friday to get to the conference championship game. Can Middle exact some revenge there? And do they need to? My personal opinion is no. My personal opinion is Middle has done enough. If you look at them and their record, 24 wins at this point. If you look at what they did in conference with the outright title and the 16 wins during the regular season, if you look at their non-conference strength of schedule and who they tried to play, where the RPI stands at this point, and maybe most importantly to me, when you watch them play, like I did on Thursday night up close and personal, that is a team that belongs in the NCAA tournament. And you know who's going to agree with me? Tom Izzo and Richard Pitino, Michigan State and Minnesota coaches who have had to experience that Middle Tennessee team in the first round each of the past 2 years. Nobody wants a part of this team. And so I think they've done enough at this point, regardless of what happens down there in Frisco. But, of course, Middle would love to just take that completely out of the equation and go get the job done down there this week. They will open on Thursday night, 6 o'clock tip-off, and will play the winner of Florida International and Southern Miss. And that should be a game that they have no problems with. But then it gets tricky because the top of Conference USA is much, much better this year. It's likely Marshall in the semifinal game on Friday, and then likely either Old Dominion or Western Kentucky again in the championship game on Saturday. We'll see. We'll see how Middle Tennessee plays down there, if they have pressure on themselves, how they handle it, and what they end up doing. I, for one, want to start the drumbeat that Middle Tennessee absolutely belongs in the NCAA tournament as it is right now. Then on Saturday, a wild day of college basketball all the way around. Start in the SEC, where Tennessee trailed much of the way against Georgia. Grant Williams was in foul trouble, although he had a very good game. But Tennessee storms back in the second half against the Bulldogs and finishes the game on a 9-0 run to win the SEC title. First SEC championship for Tennessee since 2008. Just the 7th in program history. And you probably know it by now, but it bears repeating. This team was picked 13th in the preseason by the media that cover the conference. 13th out of 14 teams. What does that say about the job that Rick Barnes and this team has done throughout the course of the year? Absolutely phenomenal to crush all expectations and to roll through the SEC in the way they did. After, by the way, losing their first 2 games. They lost at home to Auburn. They lost on the road to Arkansas. And you wondered in that adversity, what would this team actually do? Well, they ran off a bunch of wins in a row is what they did. And ultimately, they tie that Auburn Tigers basketball team for the SEC title. So Tennessee will be the number 2 seed in the SEC tournament coming up this week. They will play Friday night, 6 o'clock in St. Louis at the Scott Trade Center. Vanderbilt will open SEC play after finally winning a game away from Memorial Gym by going down and beating Ole Miss. The Commodores are the 13 seed and will meet Georgia on Wednesday night at 6 o'clock at the Scott Trade Center in St. Louis. Be fascinating to see what crowds like are in St. Louis as the SEC makes that foray into Missouri for a conference tournament for the first time. It'll also be really interesting to see how what should be a wide open tournament plays out. Auburn, Tennessee at the top. Florida has played better. Kentucky has played better down the stretch of the season. Put them all on a neutral court. How's it play out? Does Arkansas have a run in it? Does Alabama have a run in it? And who ultimately makes the tournament from the SEC this year? Remember, the all-time record for most teams from an SEC season to get into the NCAA tournament is 6. The SEC should crush that this year. The question is how many? Is it 7? Is it 8? Is it 9? How many get in from the SEC? I think there's a really good argument for 8 right now. Really good argument for 8. We'll see, though, as it plays out. Because you can play your way in and you can play your way off the bubble. As we've seen so often in the past, that's what happens during this week. That's what happens in championship week. So a lot to sort out this week, both at the Conference USA tournament and at the SEC tournament. A wild championship day at the OVC tournament on Saturday, where the Belmont women, this is still incredible to me, they trailed by 6 against Tennessee Martin with 15 seconds to go. It was actually 16 seconds. They had it out of bounds after, frankly, a hustle play to cause a jump ball that gave them the ball in that situation. 16 seconds left, ball out of bounds underneath your own basket, and you're down by 6. That is danger territory. I don't care who you are. 45-game conference winning streak on the line, a 3rd straight OVC tournament title, and a 3rd straight trip to the NCAA tournament. All on the line. This is as much pressure as you can get, frankly, in college basketball. To be in a one-bid league, be the predominant favorite like that, and to be facing that situation. Maura Munsterman hits a 3. They get the ball back. Darby Maggard, who struggled the entire game, hits a 3. With 4 seconds to go, all of a sudden we're tied. Go to overtime. Belmont gets the lead right out of the gate, and they end up cruising 63-56 in overtime to head back to the NCAA tournament. A 46th consecutive win in the Ohio Valley Conference. Just an incredible, incredible feat by that Belmont women's basketball team. So congratulations to them. Not such a fun night for the Belmont men's basketball team, which lost 68-51 to Murray State on Saturday night. The Racers ran away with that game in the second half, scored 31 of the game's final 41 points. Belmont, which is such a great offensive team, shot just 28% in the second half. They turned the ball over 13 times. It was an uncharacteristic performance against the Murray State team that used a very pro-Racers crowd in Evansville this year. I bet it was 95% navy and gold in there in favor of Murray State. They used that to their advantage, and when they got going in the second half, it just became a snowball coming downhill. And it was a very, very difficult proposition for Belmont in that game. And then, of course, yesterday, the near record-setting performance by Lipscomb in the Atlantic Sun Championship game. On the road against the top seed in Florida Gulf Coast, Garrison Matthews goes for 26 points. Lipscomb scores 60 in the first half. Not the game, the first half. Remember, I just told you that Belmont scored 51 in the Ohio Valley Conference Championship game. Total. The Belmont women won the OVC title game in overtime and scored 63 points. Lipscomb scored 60 in the first half. It shot 69% from the field. It led by 1 point by 32. It was as clinical as you could play for 20 minutes. And then all of a sudden the wheels came off. And Florida Gulf Coast marches back into the game, and it got way hairier than Casey Alexander or anybody on the Lipscomb bench would want it to be. It got down to 5 points with 7 minutes to go. And I'll tell you what, if you were watching, it was hard to think Lipscomb could withstand that, because at that point it was just one-way traffic in the second half in favor of the Eagles. And there was still 7 minutes to go in the game. But Rob Marbury came back into the game. He really stabilized things for them. They finally held onto the ball. And frankly, FGCU finally stopped hitting every shot it threw up. And Lipscomb was able to hold on down the stretch. 108-96. First ever Atlantic Sun Championship tournament, that is. And the school's first ever bid to the NCAA tournament. They will be dancing on the Lipscomb campus over the next couple of weeks, and that is very, very exciting stuff. Coming up tonight, we will hear from Casey Alexander. We'll hear from the Belmont women's basketball team, Rick Bird, as well after their game. Also Antoine Johnson after Middle Tennessee wrapped up the Conference USA title. So all those things coming up on the program tonight. We also want to hear from you guys. 737-7767, the number. What stood out to you from this last weekend of the regular season or postseason play, some of the smaller conferences? What stood out to you over the weekend? What do you expect coming up this week? Any bold predictions for Selection Sunday or Championship Week, or questions about the NCAA tournament or the process? We will get to that on the program tonight as well. Again, phone lines open, 737-7767, the number. We'll take a break. We will come back and get to some more college basketball talk after this right here on Sports Line on NewsChannel 5+.